Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please do me a huge favor. Hit the like and subscribe button. What that does is it really helps my channel out by getting me more exposure and promoting our little community. So please hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell. That way you know whenever I post a video. Guys, we need to talk about the last 2 episodes of Real Housewives of Atlanta. Okay, so we got way more insight into these issues with Drew and Ralph. Okay, so first of all, let me just say this. Kandi. I feel like I start every episode review talking about Kandi and Drew, or talking about how Kenya reminds me of someone who I don't like. Anyway, Kandi, can I just say for a moment, bedroom Kandi just grosses me out. Nobody's talking about this, but like, why can't Kandi just like keep what happens in her bedroom like in her bedroom? I'm not really sure about that, but I mean, that's just me personally. Maybe I'm being a huge prude, but I just feel like the Kandi that came into Real Housewives of Atlanta season 2 or 3 or whatever it was when she first got there is not necessarily the Kandi of today. And there's a lot of talk online about how Kandi is slowly morphing into Mama Joyce. I know I'm getting to a point. I know this is a lot, but let me get there. To me, Mama Joyce is a conservative spirit. She seems like someone who is conservative on the outside, but at the same time, if you guys will remember when Kandi was going to get her dress fitting for her wedding, she almost beat down a woman, So there is this dichotomy within Mama Joyce, and I feel like that same dichotomy exists with Kandi. Now, I feel like when Kandi first entered into Real Housewives of Atlanta, she seemed to be much more reserved. Much more reserved. And there wasn't always the talk about sex. Somehow I just kind of feel like she leans on that because women have been doing it for a very long time, and a particular subset of black women have been doing it. Black women in the public eye, in the media, have been doing it for a very long time to capitalize on, people who just want to really hear about that and stuff. Keep it in the bedroom. I just don't want to know. Now, with that being said, basically this comes back to Drew. We see more development of where Kandi is talking about all of this stuff with Drew. I just feel like these seasons these days just seem like a whole PR effort for Kandi. It's like that's the conclusion that I'm coming to, is that it's just all a PR effort for Kandi. That's it. And there's a lot of talk online among other Real Housewives fans that basically when they got rid of Nene, they ruined the show. That was basically the worst decision that they could ever have made. And, oftentimes African Americans are held to way higher standards than other races, particularly white people. And when you look at Real Housewives of Orange County, Vicki Gunvalson, one of my favorites, comes back. But we don't see Nene. In well, I don't know if I want to give spoilers, because I'm not completely sure that it's in this episode. Yes, it is. So in this episode, Cynthia comes back and she hangs out with Kandi. Kandi invites her to a restaurant, and it just does not feel organic. It really doesn't. It feels like this is all some PR thing for Kandi, and it feels like a mechanism for Bravo to get these women to be provocative on camera, which is something that the media has done to black women for forever, since we've been on TV, okay? So Drew is in Kandi's movie, and Drew presents this theory that Kandi keeps harping on about this kiss because she wants to, coax Drew up to be comfortable to having a scene with a girl, a love-making scene with a girl in her movie. And, not to give spoilers, I'm going to cut this up into episode 13 and 14. I'm going to put them together in the same review. So if you don't want to hear about episode 14, you know, maybe no spoilers, but she basically ends up, you know, reading for this role. And there is, I think, a lovemaking scene with a woman. Like, that has been previewed in, you know, the previews of the episodes to come. So for me, I'm just like, what happened here? What's going on here? People love to talk about Drew. I went online and people were calling her nasty names like Drop It with Droop, saying that she dresses horribly. For me, it's all jealousy. It's all jealousy because let's get real. Drew actually has an acting career. She has a nice net worth. I think like a pretty penny. I think about 4 million based off of all of her acting work. She can act, she can sing, and she's naturally beautiful. She doesn't have to put on pounds of makeup to be cute. Often, and she is intelligent and well spoken. That right there, that combination right there, will make haters come out of the woodwork like nobody's business. Yes, she can have the tendency to be misguided, but she's younger than these women. These women should be taking her under their wing to help her, you know, but instead they put her down. I feel like Drew is kind of like, I don't think that she's a younger version of Kandi. I don't think she's a younger version of Marlo. I don't think that she is a younger version of Nene, of Claudia. I can't really put her with anyone except perhaps a younger version of Portia or a younger version of Shereé. And I know you guys are going to say, Shereé, what are you talking about? She's not really ready to pop off like Shereé like that at any moment's notice. But if you actually look at the OGs, if you look at Shereé up, you know, next to Kandi, they are not the same thing. So basically, I feel like, to make a long story short, I do feel like Drew is right when she's saying that she feels like Kandi is harping in on this kiss thing, which nobody should be filming people on their phone doing something like that. It's just rude. If you're doing it without someone's knowledge, there are legal implications to that, you know? And so I think that it's not something that friends would do. It's not something that friends would do. A real friend would take you to the side and say, did I see you kissing what's his face? You know, like, what's her face? That's what a real friend would do. But again, we're not talking about real friends here. So that's all long story short to say that I do think that Kandi is using this. You know, she's been riding the coattails of making herself seem like this, you know, super duper sex, openly about BDSM and all this stuff persona. But I think that's been part of what's kept her on the show. But I don't know that that's truly who she is. I'm not 100% buying it, but I want to know what you guys think. I really would love to know what you think. I just feel like Kandi, back when she had a short hair, you know, when she first came on Atlanta, that person is so different from who we see today. We still see that the anatomy, like the basic foundational structure of who she is. I'm just saying it seems like she has changed to a certain extent, and part of that could be associated with the fact that, you know, if you do certain things, if you are trending in certain ways, if a certain audience is really reacting to what you're doing and engaging with what you're doing, there's more of a likelihood that you'll continue on the show. And we know she's about her money. There also, I feel like there is something with Kandi and Drew. I think that's very subtle. I think subtly Kandi is sabotaging Drew. And we know that Mama Joyce is a saboteur. And so that's one of those things where we might really be seeing Kandi turn into her mom right before our eyes. And I think it's something that people who might be on the surface very, very sure of themselves, but beyond that might actually be really, really insecure. I think it's something that people with those issues do to knock people down a peg a little bit. And they might do it unconsciously. It might even be just subconscious. And I feel like Drew can really sing. You know, she seems like the person who they don't even really have to sing all the time. She's not constantly practicing like Kandi. She probably is not even formally trained. I don't think that she's formally trained. I think that she is a thespian, and as a, I guess I still consider myself a thespian, but I really haven't acted since what high school. But as someone who went to an art school, was in musicals and all that stuff, and kind of knows a little bit of that world, I don't think that she's practicing all the time. I don't think that she has a music coach that she sees every week. And I think that Kandi is really putting in that hard work. And even still, Kandi is a music writer. She's a producer. She's an amazing performer and creator. But, she is not a vocalist like Aretha Franklin, And Drew's not a vocalist like Aretha Franklin. But Drew does have a naturally great voice, And she's a good actor. She has a long repertoire of movies. You remember White Chicks. I think she was in Drumline, on Disney Channel. Like, she has penetrated that market and that sort of mass market. And I don't think that Kandi has quite gotten there. And I think maybe there's some resentment there. I really do. I think that this whole kiss thing with Kandi was a way for her to just sort of knock Drew back a peg a bit. It was almost like, oh, you coming up in here acting like you such a big deal, which I don't think Drew does. She's just younger than them. She's just younger than them, and she's actually had like a career. That right there is another thing. I mean, Sanya has had a career. Again, Kandi has had a career. But for the most part, Kandi has been the one pretty much dominating it with the boss lady thing. You saw she also clashed with Courtney. I mean, I think that Kandi on the surface of it looks like a person who's very sure of herself. But I think if you peel back those layers a little bit, I think you really have a fragile girl in there, who needs to get back in touch with herself. Now, Kandi's reaction to Kenya possibly having another baby with Mark through in vitro surrogacy. I don't know how it's going to be. The man that she's no longer married to, the man who emotionally abused her and basically was never ever around. And when she basically says that she wants to have another kid with Mark, Kandi's like, burr, burr, burr. Burr, burr, burr. And I could not agree more. Yeah, a lot of people online are talking about Shereé's boob job and her nose job, and they're criticizing her, saying, oh, you got fibroids and you want to be all natural and stuff, but you went and got a boob job. I think that people really love to hate on these women, and they need to stop. It really needs to stop. It's bizarre. People also talk a lot online about Drew's fashion and her clothes, and say, what is she wearing? I can get that for a certain extent, because on Orange County, I'm looking at Shannon and I'm just like, Shannon, what are you wearing, child? But at the same time, I feel like there is a way to not say something in a way that knocks women down. I feel like that's truly an act of internalized misogyny. The way that Kenya comes after Drew's dress and she's like, oh, I'm sure that I wore it better. Dude, Drew is beautiful. Kenya's beautiful. Kandi's beautiful. Marlo is beautiful. Sanya's beautiful. Monietta is beautiful. Shereé is beautiful. Why? Cynthia is beautiful. Why can't they all just be beautiful together? I really would like to stop seeing so much division among a group of beautiful black women. Intelligent, beautiful, talented black women. It's just not necessary, and it does more damage than you know. I mean, that stuff reverberates and continues throughout time and time and time. I was at Disneyland, Euro Disney, for part of my vacation, and I went into the restroom to use the restroom. And in the stall right next to me, there was a teenage girl making herself evacuate her meal. And I know it was a teenage girl because I saw her come out, I saw her try her very best to wash her hands as soon as possible and to not make eye contact with me and to zoom on out of there. But there are these impossible standards that are being presented to women. We have to stop knocking each other down like this. It's really not necessary. And it's doing more damage to young girls than we really understand. Anyway, that right there is another video for another day, child. Back to the kiss controversy. This really, it doesn't matter. This is not something that should be being discussed. And I feel like Drew at some point says, like, this whole drama done been conjured up as a, free paid advertisement for Kandi's movie. And I think that it's so true. It's so true. They're just using this poor woman. They're using her life and her situations with Ralph. That right there, girl, please, stop talking about your marriage. Stop talking about your marriage on TV. So yeah, that's pretty much episode 13. And at that point in that episode, we don't really know still whether or not the kiss happened. Marlo is still harping on that it did happen. Kandi is still harping on that it did happen. Monyetta is still harping on that it did happen. But we don't actually see it. So, then episode 14. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. If you're watching right now and you don't want to know about episode 14, stop. So episode 14, basically, this is where Kenya is still talking about having a baby with a man who emotionally abused her. Totally not a great idea. This is when she should really just let bygones be bygones and move on. It's okay to move on, So, Atlanta, my city. It's so beautiful. So, you have this candy-coated party or whatever. And I'm so sad to watch Ralph and Drew go through all this because it's like just a slow burning deterioration that you can see. You see the same thing happening with John and Shannon in RHOC. And you guys know I posted a video recently, telling people, basically sending out my good energy for Mauricio and Kyle from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills to not live their life so much on public opinion and to not put too much out there, because there are people out there, trolls, other housewives, and just random aficionados, random watchers, their husbands, anybody really, who will literally just sabotage your relationship in small ways across social media in the court of public opinion just because it's something to do, Like, there is a certain amount of life that really just should not be reflected in these shows. Talk about your marriage, talk about your struggles, talk about your joys and the things that you're going through, make it real, make it authentic, but, don't play out your dirty laundry on TV. From the moment that Drew talked about the infidelity, I think back to, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I think back to some of the more older, wiser pillars of politicians and actors and performers and public figures in the past who were married, who got divorced, and we don't find out till 20 years after they got divorced that there was infidelity going on. It's like you've seen it on Entertainment Tonight, on NBC, whatever. Special, blah blah blah, breaks down the real truth of their marriage, etc., etc. Because that's not something that you really, and people will take the smallest things. Let me just go ahead and say that I feel like, and this is just my personal opinion, just like a booty, everybody got one. I feel like 3 out of 4 marriages end in divorce, but I feel like maybe only 1 in 4 marriages truly need to end in divorce. Now, of course, I can't speak in blanket statements like that. Some people are dealing with very real circumstances like abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, infidelity. I get it. I am so with you on that. And those are not excusable. And that's not what I'm trying to emphasize here. What I'm trying to say is that we live in this day and age where the sacraments of religion, of marriage, of education, of family, those are things that are becoming more and more and more and more distant, rebuked, and less sacrosanct. And it really shouldn't be that way. That's one of the first hallmarks of, let's be honest, authoritarianism, of communism, of corruption, of fascism. They want to get rid of those things. They want chaos because that's how they control the little people. So the institution of marriage is really being threatened to a certain extent. And I'm not saying that Drew and Ralph should have stayed together for forever, but I do think that some reality stars need to stop putting so much of their personal marriage happenings on television and see how much it will improve their communication. We see more of Kandi's PR for her movie. There's a script reading. Like I said, I really like, I feel like I've figured it out. Like these seasons here are just Kandi PR. And I feel like it's partly why Nene wants nothing else to do with Atlanta, because it doesn't feel as authentic anymore. It doesn't really feel as authentic. And, yeah. So then they do a mental healing fitness day, and you have Drew's sister, who's a speaker there. I thought that was very, very brave of her to be so vulnerable in front of such a large group of people. Now here's the thing with Courtney and Monyetta saying Courtney called Drew the B word. Y'all, you know that women of all races say the B word all the time, and they don't necessarily mean anything by it. This right here is some drama stirring stuff. They cannot counter outside forces the same way that America right now with MAGA Republicans cannot counter outside forces, because it's eating itself from within. They need to stop. It's truly something I don't see across other franchises for the most part. Now, with that being said, Atlanta, while it has some of the nastiest cat fighting stuff that I just say, oh my God, how can women, black women especially, treat each other like that? Even with that, it also has some of the sweetest, most beautiful, rich moments of sisterhood. And I just love that. I just wish we saw so much more of the sisterhood. Where right now it's like 75% tea, shade, checking someone, all of that stuff. Reading someone, whatever. Where we see 75% of that nastiness and 25% of the sisterhood, I wish we saw 75% of the sisterhood and 25% of the nastiness. But then again, reality TV wouldn't really, have what it takes. At the end, we see Drew talking to a marriage therapist, a marriage counselor, about she and Ralph. Now, I'm just going to say this. My marriage counselor doesn't try to put down my marriage. Like, I just got the vibe from that marriage counselor that he didn't even want them to work out, Like, even if Ralph had cheated, which I don't condone cheating in any way or form. Infidelity is not right, But, and I've never been cheated on, so let me put that out there. I'm not as someone who's rationalizing abuse or infidelity or anything like that. But even if infidelity was in the picture, from my own personal experience with other married people in my life, and from watching celebrities also deal with that, when you're in marriage counseling, initially the marriage counselor will actually try to ask you, hey, do you want this marriage to work? If they asked that to Drew and Ralph, I would imagine they both said yes. And then they say, okay, let's do what we can to make this work. Marriage counselors don't usually just be like, well, he's a bag, so let's call it a day. That's basically the vibe that I was getting from that marriage counselor. Anyway, I still love Atlanta. I love Atlanta. Like I said, I love those moments of sisterhood, and it's really what makes me live for that show. I just wish that we saw more of that. But I would love to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. If you are new here, like I said, we just got to get this on out of the way. Please, please, please do me a favor, because it really, really helps out my channel. Hit the like and subscribe button. Hit the bell. That way you know whenever I post a video. Check out when I'm posting new content. I post a video every single day, at least a video every single day, or at least I try to. And we talk about everything from pop culture to news to politics to random thoughts to just lifestyle stuff to everyday annoyances, happiness and joys as well. But we talk about it all here. I would love to have you guys join me. So please, please, please subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say. And I will see you guys next time. Okay, bye.